Hello, and welcome to Beyond Books, where we talk about books and always go beyond. I'm your host. I'm Renee. The co-host is making her way over now because as soon as she hears the intro, she knows it's time for treats. I will show her in a few minutes. Let me get her treat. But what I'm doing today is a tag. This is called the Adventurers Assemble. And this was created by John at Disquiet and Dragons. And I was tagged by Pat at Book Chat with Pat. So the prompts for this tag are, appropriately, the first tag is labeled Nom Nom Nom. Choose a companion or adventurers who will ensure you eat well on your quest. I think Raina qualifies, but otherwise there are many characters that I think do a good job describing the food that they eat. And I love books where the food is well described and obviously enjoyed by the characters. So the first thing that comes to mind for me is Dr. Kay Scarpetta, the main character from Patricia Cornwell's series. Dr. Kay is a forensic pathologist, but she's also a gourmet cook. And Patricia Cornwell herself actually wrote I think only two, it could even be more, but I think only two cookbooks. I have one here to show you. This one is called Food to Die For. And it has passages from her books where these dishes were originally mentioned. And I think that just makes the recipes even more fun. So I'm quite fond of the coleslaw with the fish with lime sauce, which I'll show you the picture of that. I mean, it looks delicious in the picture. Mine never quite comes out looking like that. But it is good. I don't even like coleslaw, but I like this coleslaw because it's just delicious. And I've also made the pasta with broccoli. I won't even try to say it in Italian. She has it written in Italian on here because forget it. I wouldn't do it justice, and any of you who are watching that do speak Italian will just laugh anyway. But yeah, that's what that looks like. And that was fun to make and came out really delicious. So yeah, I've tried a few of her recipes. So definitely Dr. Kay Scarpetta. And then there's someone else whose books I haven't read in many, many years. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with his books. I really don't hear anyone talk about them on BookTube, but I mean, that doesn't mean they haven't. And that is Lawrence Sanders. He wrote crime and mystery novels in the 70s into the late 90s. He actually passed in 1998. And he actually didn't even start writing until he was in his 50s. He had several series. One was called the Deadly Sins series, and it featured an older detective who I think may have actually even been retired at the time that, of the stories. And his name was Edward X. Delaney. I don't think the X actually stood for anything. And they always mention that in the book. But anyway, Captain Delaney was very fond of sandwiches. And these were always described in detail in the novels. And he would also suggest a drink, usually a type of beer, to go with the sandwiches. And he had what he called his wet sandwiches, which would have some kind of a sauce on them or something in them that had been cooked with the sauce. He would put leftovers in the sandwich sometimes, but something maybe say like coleslaw or something like that. And he would eat that over the sink so that they wouldn't drip. And it's actually brilliant when you think about it. So the books are very good. as well. So Lawrence Sanders, I think he wrote, like, I just looked it up a little while ago, I think like 41 books or something. So prompt number 2 is, I know this one. Choose a companion or adventurers to help you win a pub tavern quiz. So the first person that came to mind was Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, but I was then kind of wondering if I could think of a character who was similar to him, and he's pretty unique, so I don't think so. But there's a book that I have on audio that I listened to, I think about probably 12 or 13 years ago, and it is called Born on a Blue Day: Inside the Extraordinary Mind of an Autistic Savant. And the author is Daniel Tammet, Tammet, and it's his memoir. This is a man who has Asperger's syndrome. And the description on his book on Goodreads is this. It says, Tammet's ability to think abstractly, deviate from routine, and empathize, interact, and communicate with others is impaired. Yet he's capable of incredible feats of memorization and mental calculation. Besides being able to effortlessly multiply and divide huge sums in his head with the speed and accuracy of a computer, Tammet, the subject of the 2005 documentary Brain Man, learned Icelandic in a single week and recited the number pi up to the 22,514th digit. It took like days for him to do that. He actually had to stop because he was physically exhausted from it, breaking the European record. He also experiences synesthesia, an unusual neurological syndrome which enables him to experience numbers and words as shapes, colors, textures, and motions. Tammet traces his life from a frustrating, withdrawn childhood and adolescence to his adult achievements, which include teaching in Lithuania, achieving financial dependence with an educational website, and sustaining a long-term romantic relationship. So he has some remarkable talents and gifts, along, of course, with some impairments and challenges as well. But he's at least partially overcome a lot of those challenges in order to lead a fulfilling life. And I really love the book. I found the character to be quite extraordinary. And yeah, if you're interested in that type of subject matter, it's a great read, as well as, you know, having him on your trivia team might be quite entertaining when you think about it. So number 3, keep it secret, keep it safe. Choose a companion or adventurers that will stay loyal and trustworthy until the very end. Well, I found a quote from Ernest Hemingway that said, there is no companion as loyal as a book. So if you think of it that way, it really doesn't matter who we choose, right? But I'm just looking at books I've read recently, and I would say when it comes to loyalty and trustworthiness as a friend, there is a friendship in this book, The Lion Women of Tehran, which I think I read in May. I think this was my May book of the month, by Marjan Kamali. This has, you know, very close friendship between two women who are lifelong friends despite the odds against them. Their fortunes change, their circumstances change. They both grow and mature as people in the story, but their friendship just kind of seems to remain throughout. So those characters in that book for sure, but also something that hits a little closer to home for me is this book. And this was also a book of the month, I believe, from February. The Women by Kristen Hanna. I think it was actually March. This is where a group of nurses form a very tight sisterhood after all they go through in Vietnam, and they remain friends through thick and thin. So both are great books. Both I've read this year, and they have stories of really extraordinary friendships. So number 4 is Got Your Back. Choose a companion or adventurers that will help you out in a fight. Okay, so I'm going with Lucy Farinelli. She's Dr. Kay Scarpetta's niece in the Patricia Cornwell series, and she's always ready for a fight, basically. When it comes to being loyal, I don't think that's necessarily her strong suit. She's described as being somewhat brooding and troubled, maybe a little self-centered in some ways, but she's in great shape, and she's always down for a fight. So I think she would, jump to your rescue if, possibly for no other reason than to just get her licks in, So number 5 is man's best friend. Choose a companion or adventurers that are not human. Okay, for this, I'm going to have to show you something different, so bear with me for a moment. So this is my non-human companion. This is, of course, is Raina, the co-host, who loves to get snacks during a video. She's kind of the little Scooby-Doo around here. So she's definitely a character, no doubt there. But other than that, I would say also Marcellus, the octopus from Remarkably Bright Creatures, which I just read last month, I believe. And I also read a book about a dog this year called Merle's Door. The author is Ted Karasote, Karasote. Merle was a pretty awesome dog. And now we didn't get to hear his thoughts, but the author actually writes about his relationship with the dog, and we do get to see him develop and grow throughout the story. And it's a very good book. And there's also a book by Robert Cray called Suspect, where one of the main characters is a dog named Maggie. And I've read quite a few of Robert Cray's books. He's pretty reliable, good crime author. Maggie is a trained German Shepherd who can no longer serve in the military due to PTSD. And so she ends up getting placed with a police detective who's been injured on the job. And I think he's on limited service. And so together they kind of help each other, both emotionally and physically, and they end up solving a crime together. And we do get to share Maggie's thoughts and emotions along the way. It's very well written. It's a very good read. And as I say, Robert Cray is a good and reliable crime writer. So number 6, the last prompt, is to tag other booktubers. So I am going to tag Hannah at Hannah's Books, Daniela at Uncommon Reader, Ellen at the Ellen Made Book Club, Scott at Some Other Character, and Jay at Faceless Book Reviews. And anyone else who sees this video and wants to do the tag. It seems like it's going to go kind of quick and easy, but it got me thinking a little bit. Because the problem with me is I think of several answers to the questions. It's rarely just one, or else it's none, because that's happened too. So anyway, if you like this content, please consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. And also, thumbs up doesn't hurt, neither does a comment. That's all good for my algorithm, so please feel free to do that. And if you have another couple of minutes, I'll show you the progress on my arrow gardens right about now. Okay, so I finally got smart and put the date that I planted these right on the arrow garden so that I would know. And this is probably the most interesting right now. and that is the microgreens that I planted on the 9th of September. These are sunflower, obviously. There's one there that's almost to a length that you wouldn't mind cutting and eating. But the rest look really funny because the roots are sticking up all over the place. These little fuzzy things are roots, little kind of hair-like roots, and they've got to find their way down through that medium and down to the water. So some of them need to kind of flip themselves over and things like that. So they will do that all on their own. It'll still take a little while. These definitely do not grow as fast as the broccoli ones that I had. So I'll show you what this side looks like. I think it looks actually a little bit better. Yeah, it's still kind of chaotic in there till everybody finds their way. But yeah, it's kind of interesting the way they grow. The little seed hull ends up on the top, and that you can just kind of usually sort of pluck that off. I don't want to pull too hard. There we go. And there it is. And there's the little plant it came from. Right there. So, yeah, interesting. I'm going to leave the blue cover on for a little while longer. So, yeah, still keep them kind of a little bit blacked out until they find their way a little bit better and they can point themselves up towards the light, or some of them start touching the edges of, the plastic itself. So up above that, I have lettuce. And now that was planted on the 29th of August, and I showed that on a video. This doesn't need to be there because it's not anything. But yeah, these are two lettuces. One is red, obviously. One is green, and they're growing very well. And this one, you say, well, what the heck's going on? But it is down in there, just a little bit slower. Just a little bit slower than the others, but it's there, and sooner or later it'll pop back up. So yeah, I'm pleased with those. And let me show you what's going on the other side. So this is now my larger arrow garden, also planted on the 29th. And this is petunias. And there we go there. Growing in nicely. Not up above the little paper yet, but it'll get there. Let's see what's going on with this one. Yep, see that? It's growing down there. It's a little bit slower. That's okay. Some plants are just slower than others, even when they're the same type. And there's that guy. So 100% germination of everything that we planted in these arrow gardens. I mean, minus the micros, and they'll come along. But they're different. I'm just talking about what we planted to let go to a mature plant. So yeah, there we are. There's your update. Thanks for watching.